right. So welcome back. Welcome to the Blue Veil Wellness Show. I'm your host, Christy Murray, a Catholic nurse practitioner. And this is the space where we explore wellness through food, function, and medicine. Because caring for our body is part of honoring the life that we've been entrusted with, today's conversation is especially important for anyone who feels exhausted, overwhelmed, or stuck in survival mode. And I'm really excited about our guests. And even though you're doing all the things right, so many high achieving women are running on fumes, blaming themselves for symptoms that actually have very real biological and neurological roots, actually genetic, which is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Sam Shay, a functional medicine expert, speaker, international functional genetics trainer. Dr. Sam is a friendly lab nerd because he has a gift for making complex lab data approachable and empowering. After overcoming years of chronic fatigue, insomnia, and digestive issues himself, he dedicated his life to helping others reclaim their energy, focus, and vitality through personalized genetics, through functional testing and nervous system regulation. And he is the creator of the Neuro-Harmony model, a framework that brings together functional labs and mind-body medicine. This is amazing to create sustainable health, not just symptom management. And today we're going to talk about how to stop chasing health fads, why genetic testing is often the smartest place to start, and how understanding your nervous system can change everything. So, Dr. Sam, welcome to the Blue Veil Wellness Show.
Thank you, Christy. It's great to be here.
Is there anything that I missed when I was introducing you?
I'm also a stand-up comic, despite the academic veneer. I also do stand-up comedy as part of my advocacy in education, particularly for people on the spectrum, people who are neurodiverse. So I have a form of autism called Asperger's syndrome, and I did a full 1-hour comedy show called Neuro-Spicy Love, Life, and Comedy on the Spectrum, and it's available for free on YouTube. You put into YouTube Dr. Sam Shay Neuro-Spicy, and you'll find it. There's the hour show. There's also a 12-minute highlight reel. The intention was that it was a 60 minutes I wish I heard, and my family heard, and my teachers heard, and the community heard, and other parents of other kids heard 30 years ago. And it's family friendly. There's no cursing. There's no politics. There's no gratuitous body fluid jokes. It's designed to bring the neurodiverse and the normative population together. And I'm not just saying because I wrote it, but it's really funny. I got over 45-star reviews when I released it at a festival. And humor is the best vehicle for education. And there's just as a small connection point, even though I was raised Jewish, my nanny, who I talk about at the end of the show, Bridie, was one of the most quietly devout Catholics I've ever met in my life. And she, and as we know, we have many different expressions of that faith all over the place, from handsy priests and worse. Bridie was a first generation uneducated Irish woman who came over to help my family raise the kids. And she positively glowed with the love that was taught in the Bible. She did not preach once, not once, ever. She just lived it. And I owe my life to her, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, she was the one glow of pure, unambiguous care and love and kindness with no agenda for me, despite living in a very fraught emotional environment in home and a violent environment at school. And so I just like that. Bridie was formative to show me that there was love and kindness for real. That was not without being preachy. It was just pure. She's radiated, and I'm forever grateful for her. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for her. And her spirit is what is my guiding light. Is I want to radiate that type of care and demonstrate through action like she did. And it's as you were talking, just before the air, it's rare to
Mhm.
see insert faith next to functional medicine topic in the same title. That's not unheard of. It's just very, very rare. And I just
Mhm.
wanted to acknowledge that out the gate, and that I've traveled a lot and met people from religions people I've never even heard of. And my my personal stance is I watch what people do. I'm
Mhm.
very much interested in what people do and how they treat people, and not what they say, what book they read from. I'm a pragmatist in that sense, and behaviorist in that sense. Right or wrong, that's my lens. I really, because based off of sobriety, I look at people's behavior,
Mhm.
uh, and that came straight from just living around and being lucky enough to be around her. So yeah, I've like, I don't think I've actually really shared that on a podcast before, because there wasn't
Wow.
really context to share it. So here we are.
Oh, thank you for sharing. That is a beautiful story. It's great that you have that light that was provided for you since you were a child, and I'm
Totally.
glad. I'm sure she's still around you. Like you said, her spirit is still around and guiding you.
I can, like, I even say, I've said on stage before, again, talking about myself on, I don't believe in angels, but I believe in Brady.
Oh, she's your angel.
That's and it's like she is my guiding light, whether she's in a corporeal
Mhm.
form or not. I don't know. That's my navigation with the
Mhm.
things that are unseen. But I know that as someone that I keep in top of my mind into who is my spiritual compass, it's Bridie.
Mhm.
Bridie is my spiritual compass. That's what I mean
Wow.
by, like, I believe in Bridie. It's because she is my spiritual compass.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Thank you for sharing.
of course.
So, yeah, let's go ahead. So, the first topic I want to talk about is talking about from survival mode to stability. So,
Hmm.
many women today feel like they're living in constant survival mode. And really, we are. We just don't feel it. We are living in that constant survival mode. So, from your perspective, how does chronic stress show up in labs and then in daily life?
Sure. So chronic stress. There's my colleague, Dr. Roger Bourbon. He coined the term modern woman syndrome,
Oh.
and he and I went to school together. He was like 2 years ahead of me, and we had the same mentor. And the crux of it is that in modern day, we have our stress hormones are designed to be on for a short period of time and shut off, because as human beings, we were subjected to, only up until the past couple hundred years, we were subjected to acute stresses. Most of if there was, like, there's a flood, there's a storm, there's a there's a wild pack of animals, there's a warring tribe, there's something is urgently, acutely threatening. So we have cortisol, the stress hormone, that shoots up, and we survive the thing, or we don't, and then it comes back down. And we also have mechanisms in less modern societies, like we're outside more, we are in sunlight more, we move way more. When we were in less modern societies, we didn't have this massive river of pollution all around us all the time, and we weren't bombarded with news from halfway around the world or halfway across the country, constantly negative and existentially stressful, and intentionally so, simply
Mm-hmm.
because we there is a negativity bias in how our nervous system operates, that we are looking more for danger than we are looking for calmness, because if we don't
Mm-hmm.
look for danger, there's a higher probability we wouldn't have made it. So this is a long way of saying our stress response systems are better suited to deal with acute emergencies, not relentless, chronic, existential, ambient, endemic emergent, like this kind of low grade emergencies over time is actually more dangerous than several acute emergencies over the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is our stress hormone systems become very dysregulated. Either they become non less responsive than they should, or they become hyper responsive or hyper vigilant. So on labs, we can check for things like salivary cortisol. So you check cortisol in the saliva, and you can check it over the course of a normal day. and
Mm-hmm.
then see how it fluctuates up and down. And there are known regular intervals. I mean, the saliva tests were developed out of Harvard, I believe, in the 70s, because when they
Mm-hmm.
were going to study different tribal cultures, it's hard to take stool samples, blood samples, and urine samples, but most people will spit in the tube. Plus, it's easier to preserve. You don't need refrigeration that much. So,
Uh-huh.
and free cortisol, it can be measured in the saliva. And now people say, well, what isn't blood more accurate? It's like, in this case, no,
Agree.
because when you go to get a blood cortisol drawn, um, I mean, I have a short video I recorded probably over a decade ago why blood drawn cortisol is not accurate unless you're looking for acute pathology like Cushing's or Addison's disease.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the reason why it's not accurate is that one, you have to get it drawn while you're fasting. So you wake up, you skip breakfast, so your cortisol keeps going up because you need to eat in order to break the fast, literally calm cortisol down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then you're driving through traffic to get to a doctor's appointment with someone with a needle and a white coat is coming at you slowly, probably with Jaws music in the background. And of course, your cortisol is going to be higher than normal. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
bonkers to think otherwise. So, but if you're just in the comfort of your own home, you just like spit into a tube for like 2 minutes, and then freezer, like you're actually getting a much more accurate read of what your cortisol is like, particularly if you do it multiple times over the day. So when people have dysregulated cortisol rhythms, then their energy levels can be very dysregulated, where they can be just jacked up, just like hypervigilant,
Uh-huh.
or non-responsive, like and just like it can any sign of stress can just like exhaust them as opposed
Yeah.
to activate them.
It's like there's
So
no more to give at that point. They've
yeah,
depleted themselves.
totally. And so that's one test to check for, quote, burnout. Other tests for burnout include mitochondria tests that include checking for certain neurotransmitter pathways like dopamine or epinephrine. And I know I'm just throwing out a lot of Scrabble words here for people because we're talking medical jargon here.
Uh-huh.
But the easiest way to understand it is that you've got you've got different systems in your body that navigate how your energy is mobilized. And is it going to be mobilized to your arms and legs to run or fight for your life, like cortisol? And then you've
Mm-hmm.
got other pathways that mobilize your attention. And attention is a form of it's not necessarily energy, but it's attention, which is how you focus your energy. So dopamine and epinephrine are two of the chemicals involved with how you focus. And so part of fatigue is not just physical fatigue, it's mental fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
where you're just not able to concentrate or uh, keep everything like in its in the proper lens of attention. So there are tests. There's a test for there's mitochondria tests. And mitochondria that those are the powerhouse of the cells. They'll literally make energy, and we'll talk more about them in a minute. But on the same mitochondria tests, um, there are markers to check for how well functioning your dopamine and epinephrine pathways are working. So if
Mm-hmm.
they're not working properly, one, that's a sign to look at what is your stress management systems. How do you come back to balance? Do you do you engage in different techniques and processes to bring you back to baseline? Whether it's the popular culture, there's all sorts of different options here. From if we're on a Catholic podcast, it could be you know engaging in prayer,
Mm-hmm.
any of the other practices that are involved of chanting,
Meditation.
meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Other cultures involve and practices involve breathing techniques. There's also different movement practices, whether it's qigong, tai chi, or some other variant from whatever works for you. There's also having really solid routines to increase your resilience so stressors don't throw you off. So, are people sleeping properly? Are they exercising properly? Are they eating clean food? Are they taking time to sit and digest their food? Are they engaging in just ongoing stressful, dysregulated uh, patterns as opposed to solid routines? So when people uh, get their get tested and they see that their dopamine or epinephrine pathways have gone awry, There's lifestyle changes you can do. Then there's also nutritional support you can do, like provide the precursor amino acids to make sure you have enough dopamine to even make the dopamine and epinephrine.
Yeah.
Then there's the mitochondria test itself. So mitochondria are they're like the electricity factories of the body, and it's estimated your body weight is between 5 and 10% just mitochondria. And that just for a visual, imagine if LA, New York, Dallas, Denver, Miami, Chicago, imagine if 10% of the entire footprint of the city was just the electrical grid and electricity factories. That, just imagine that now, and how expensive that is to run.
Mm-hmm.
And so your mitochondria are very, very expensive metabolically. That's why we take multivitamins, is to run the mitochondria.
Mm-hmm.
It's where we burn protein, fat, and carbs to make electricity. It's called ATP, but like we make energy in those things. So if someone's fatigued, it may be related to adrenals. It may be related to neurotransmitters, or it may just be the factory that makes electricity ain't working that well.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of components that go into making energy in the body. So if you want to think of a factory, the metaphor is really apt. So you've got so the whole point of mitochondria is you take proteins, fats, and carbs, and you burn it in the presence of oxygen. The whole reason why we breathe is to provide oxygen to the mitochondria. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you put a log on a fire pit and you light. There's no oxygen; it's not going to burn. It's the same thought.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to light the fuel in the presence of oxygen. Protein, fats, and carbs are the fuel. Now, here's another metaphor. You need nutrition to make this happen. Well, to get proteins, fats, or carbs to the factory, you need truckers. So the truckers
Mm-hmm.
unions, there's 3 truckers unions, and they're paid in different currencies. So the
Uh-huh.
carnitine oil is the fatty acid truckers union, and they're
Okay.
paid in carnitine, glycine, magnesium, and B2. You don't pay them; the fats sit on the docks. Okay. The protein truckers union is paid in B vitamins, mostly B6. You don't pay them. You don't bring protein to burn. The truckers unions are on
Mm-hmm.
strike. Oh, sorry, you're not paying us. Carb truckers union that shuttles carbohydrates, they're paid in like lipoic acid and CoQ10 and B vitamins and chromium, and like there's so you get this idea of like you got 3 different truckers unions that require different currencies.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have those currencies, then you ain't the shipment ain't being delivered. So then you've got to have factory walls. So those are specialized fatty acids. You got to have machines inside the factories. So those are called vitamins. You have computer chips that run the machines. Those are called minerals. You have to have a conveyor belt inside. That's called CoQ10. CoQ10 is an enormous molecule. It's the literal conveyor belt that everything is happening on. You need to have janitors that run around and
Clean up
clean up
the
all the
excreted
sparks.
materials. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you burn a blog, you get sparks, and if sparks fly too far or too big, other things catch on fire that should not be on fire, which is
Mm-hmm.
really bad. So you have 95% of your free radicals.
Yeah.
95% of your free radicals are generated in the mitochondria, which makes total sense because we are burning all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got 3 janitors. MN SOD, manganese superoxide dismutase, who I call Mr. SOD. Mr. SOD is the head janitor. We love Mr. SOD. Mr.
Okay.
SOD is 2 subordinates, glutathione peroxidase and catalase. We'll just call them GPX1 and CAT. So
Uh-huh.
those three janitors, they're amazing. They take the free radicals, they take the sparks, and then convert them, and this is true, into oxygen and water. It's incredible. So
Yeah.
now, if this is where we're going to first start the conversation on genetics.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about mitochondria, and I've just named a whole smattering of nutrients to run the mitochondria. Plus, you can't have toxins, which will gum up the machines. You can't have vandals in the form of viruses and bacteria
Uh-huh.
like take over the factory and dismantle it or whatever. And so with genetics, some people genetically, Mr. Sod and his 2 other janitors,
Mm-hmm.
genetically, people have slower versions of those enzymes, where
Huh.
Mr. Sod is not as fast and his subordinates
Okay.
are not as fast. So you have more fires that are sparking.
Okay.
So people genetically who have a a weaker version of MNSA, GPX1, CAT, the three janitors, they're more likely to suffer from fatigue because their factories are more likely to be on or partially on fire. Then you've got other people with genetic issues where they're more hyper-inflammatory. They're just genetically more prone to inflammation. And
Mm-hmm.
deal with inflammation, you need to have more energy to deal with the inflammation. Like if your house is on fire, there's a lot of activity to put that thing out.
Yeah. You can
There's a
take your
lot.
time.
You gotta be working and you gotta
Mhm.
mobilize, and like it's a thing and it is exhausting. I happen to know someone whose house was on fire last year, and it was a massive effort to deal with that and then the aftermath of it. So
Mhm.
inflammation, and it was exhausting. And then in the body, if you have bad inflammation in the body, it is quite literally exhausting because you are now spending all of your energy not on you know growth and all this like it's
Not like
devoted.
the everyday typical one that you need to, but then
Yeah,
there's
it's
extra.
yeah, you're just constantly like putting out fires, and and people can know like I'm just busy putting out fires. That sounds exhausting. I mean, we have that phrase in the culture. I'm just putting out fires, and it's exhausting by default. So people can test their mitochondria to see how healthy are the mitochondria. Does it have the nutrients it needs to run properly? Because you could be exhausted from simply not having the nutrients to either pay the truckers union or run the factory or defend the factory or prevent it from catching on fire or to rebuild it if it caught on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So and then you could have fatigue from the genetically people are more vulnerable to certain uh, fatigue situations that are just more generally fatigue than others. But the good news is that with any testing, including genetics testing, there are things that you can do based on what the results show to buffer against more fatigue and also help you rebuild and support your energy systems as a whole. So the genetics tests that are out there, certainly the ones that I run, that and I teach other practitioners how to do, it's that every gene is picked that you can do something about. Not just to be clear, you don't change the gene, you change how the gene behaves.
Yes.
You can change the behavior of the gene, and when people say, "Oh, I changed your genes," that's not correct. That you change. It's like a dial. Like imagine
Mm-hmm.
it, it's not a switch; it's more of a dial. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and with good lifestyle, nutrition, and dietary habits, you can change how the dial where the dial is for the gene. Now, some people their default is all the way to the side, and it's not a great place to be on the dial. So they have to work harder to make that dial turn to where you want it to be and to keep it there. So some people, like me, have to work harder because genetically we got an unfortunate role in that we just need to work harder to be as healthy as we can. Fortunately, there's lab testing now to
Yeah.
actually identify what we need to do specifically to make that journey as easy as possible.
Yeah. I love all the analogies that you have. I just wanted to go back to, so initially, so the first testing that we had talked about is you mentioned cortisol testing.
Right.
So saliva, is saliva the first go-to? Like, do you prefer saliva testing over urine testing for cortisol?
Um, so there, in terms of what's first, um,
Mm-hmm.
so there's checking like there's different ways you can do different tests, and you can have preferences of what style of test. But then there's like what is the best test to start with as a general rule of thumb.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're asking about of all the cortisol tests, which one do I prefer? Do I prefer the urine metabolites of cortisol? Do I prefer the salivary ones
Mm-hmm.
or the blood? I'm very clear. I don't like the blood unless you're
Yes.
looking specifically for Cushing's or Addison's
For acute.
pathology, like an absent, like a clear pathology, and that has
Mm-hmm.
value for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I so what do I prefer? So the first question I ask is what is most practical. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have a test that can be done than a perfect test that's never done. So there's some people, for example, those with Sjogren's disease have very, very dry mouths. and dry eyes and dry, like they're just, everything
Yeah,
is just dried up.
it's
So a
unfortunate.
saliva test is not practical for that, for a certain segment of them. So I wouldn't be as so cruel as to say, well, I guess we can't test your stress hormones because you're just too dried up. Sorry, that's a little mean. So I would definitely do the urine one for them. I
Mm-hmm.
think that there is more robust. I think it's more accurate to
Mm-hmm.
do saliva, uh,
Uh-huh.
urine, and but there's also the reality, like what's more convenient for people. Like for some people, they're in a situation during the day where not it's not appropriate, whether it's their workspace or otherwise. They can't go and like spit into a tube in front of people,
Mm-hmm.
but they can go to the bathroom and collect the pee on the little pad thingy or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the company. And so collecting urine is a lot easier than collecting saliva. So to me, I think saliva is the best, but if it's impractical, then definitely do urine.
Okay. And
And
like
then,
same thing too, is like why are they coming? Why are they wanting to get tested? Are they tired? Are they moody? Especially for perimenopausal women. The
mhm.
first thing, like women say, okay, I'm starting to feel this way, and they automatically start blaming estrogen.
Yeah,
Because
estrogen. Yeah, so it's so fun. Some of the comedian minds like it's always it says total reflex, blame the female. We're going
yeah,
to blame estrogen. That's all. It's if it's not a woman's fault, it's certainly estrogen's fault. Like it's
yeah,
and I think the instinct to demonize one particular molecule over another is very understandable. The uh, when it's just as easy enough to blame cortisol. Like you can basically pick your molecule of choice and demonize it if you want, but
mm-hmm,
you die without cortisol. You need cortisol to regulate your blood sugar in the case of an emergency. If you had an emergency and no cortisol, you would have the emergency and promptly drop dead because you had no way to maintain and sustain blood sugar after the emergency is over.
mm-hmm,
Estrogen is critical for all sorts of processes, and it's not that estrogen is bad, it's just that it's imbalanced, just like cortisol,
mm-hmm,
it's imbalanced. So um, there's many, if you are going to test estrogen, then things that you can test for is more than just estradiol already too. You can
yeah,
check for there's a popular test called the Dutch test, and there you check for 7 types of estrogens in there. You
mm-hmm,
check for E1, E2, E3, 4 hydroxy, it's 2 hydroxy, and then and methyl ester. Like there's seven
mm-hmm,
types of estrogens, and then there's also the precursor, which is actually testosterone, and it's
yeah,
other, and then it's the other derivative of DHEA, which is androstenedione. Which so you can look up at the whole pathway and see
mm-hmm,
where in estrogen is it going down the correct pathways, or is it bottling up in the corner of one direction or another? Like if it's
mm-hmm,
stuck in the 4 hydroxy, that's bad. If
yeah,
it's stuck in the 16 hydroxy, that's a different type of bad. And
mm-hmm,
if it's stuck, if it doesn't actually finish and go out, you get another set of genes are involved, like the CYP gene, the liver genes that are
mm-hmm,
involved, those initial
yeah,
connections. And in the very, very end, where you want most of the estrogen to go is COMT gene, uh, and the COMT gene. And if that one has a genetic variant on it, then you have some people that struggle with perimenopause. And so there's ways to support the COMT gene if you do have variations in that. If you've got variations in your liver genes, because you need the liver as part of that detox process, then you can have estrogen issues there as well.
mm-hmm,
And so it's like it's not like if you're blaming estrogen, most people are blaming E2 when there's 6 others to look at in
yeah,
counts. And this is where testing is really valuable, is that you can actually know, is estrogen truly imbalanced? If so, where? And
exactly. And why is it imbalanced? Is it like, do you have enough of it? Because like having no estrogen and asking someone to give you a lot of estrogen, if you're not processing it or metabolizing it properly because of other issues that unbeknownst to you, then you're just going to basically flood your body with estrogen and push you the wrong way.
yeah, and you see this also happen ironically in men who get testosterone treatments,
Mhm.
and they didn't check their entire pathway from testosterone through estrogen, And there's this one sneaky little enzyme called aromatase that converts testosterone into estrogen. And
Mm-hmm.
if you give a male lots of testosterone and that enzyme aromatase is overactive and over converts testosterone to estrogen, you are just basically flooding the male
Feminizing them.
system with estrogen, and they
Yep.
develop, amongst other things, man boobs, gynecomastia.
Yep.
This has happened to several people that I know. That's like, I was taking estrogen, I started taking testosterone, and I developed man boobs, and I got fat, and I don't understand what's going on. I was like, well, unfortunately, even though you listened to the adverts on TV about testosterone, they didn't tell you
Mm-hmm.
that little asterisk. I know it was very distracting watching people running through the fields and playing basketball. You
Yeah.
know, the little
Flexing
thing
their
was
muscles.
exactly, but you missed out on that. Not everyone's testosterone issues is a lack of testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's an overactive enzyme that's draining the existing testosterone you have, and the best thing to do is to focus on slowing down that enzyme from over converting. And I've done this in practice. I mean, I've had two
Mm-hmm.
gentlemen that came to me with. I mean, there was the reasons they said they were coming to. This is back when I had a physical practice. I'm 100% virtual now, but both of them did the same thing. They called and scheduled an appointment for one stated reason, and then when they're in my office privately, they said the real reason I'm here is because I have man boobs and I want to get rid of them, and I don't know what's happening, and I don't understand it. So I ran their genetics, and I also
Mm-hmm.
ran their sex hormones as well. So there was two things that were happening at the same time. Number one, they had way too much estrogen in their system, and there's about a half dozen or so causes of external estrogen we call xenoestrogens.
Mm-hmm.
Heated plastics, pesticides, insecticides, city water that's unfiltered that can have the metabolites of birth control pills in them.
Mm-hmm.
You have, depending on the animal in the industry, you can have hormones in certain types of meats. You can have visceral body fat actually will auto generate its own estrogen,
Yeah.
uh, and there's other certain plasticizers and certain forever chemicals and upholstery chemicals and flame retardants and all these other things. They can mimic estrogen and so on. So they had exposure, and I had a checklist, and they had at least 5 out of the 8 or so major causes of estrogen. So I had to pull them off of the excess estrogen, and then change their diet so that it was liver detox supporting. But what I also saw was that they both had a lot of joint pain, and the more they exercised, the fatter they got. So they
Mm.
had man boobs and they were in joint pain, and the more so it was like interesting. So I ran their genetics, and I was like,
Okay.
okay, and I saw the patterns. The pattern was that they had one a problem with estrogen detox genes that they had that estrogen would build up. That's number one. But was
Uh-huh.
actually more interesting than that was that they were hyper-inflammatory genetically. So what that
Mm.
meant was that the more they exercised, there's a point for each person where there's too
They're
much exercise.
stressing. They're stressing their body instead of actually helping it.
Correct, and they become pro-inflammatory instead of anti-inflammatory. So what
Mm-hmm.
happened was that they over-exercised, and their genetics were hyper-inflammatory. So they over-exercised, so their liver got completely clogged with trying to clear the inflammation. And then they also had all this excess estrogen, and they couldn't clear the estrogen efficiently in their liver. So you have this double whammy of they're
Mm-hmm.
inflamed, they're flooded with estrogen. They have trouble detoxing estrogen anyway, and their liver's preoccupied dealing with inflammation. The analogy is if you're going into your kitchen and the garbage is full and your stove is on fire, what's the priority? The stove on fire. Like
Yeah.
the garbage overflowing is secondary.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing with estrogen. If you're on fire, if your liver is on fire, like if you're inflamed, your
Mm-hmm.
body is shunting estrogen to the lower priority. So if you now
Mm-hmm.
have all this inflammatory water weight and you've got all this excess estrogen, the fat's going to redistribute to the chest. And that's where they got the gynecomastia. So I put them on an anti-inflammatory, liver detoxing, nutrients and diet and supplements, and cut down on their exercise to like 2-3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Got them off all the excess estrogens. One guy lost 40 pounds in 1 month.
Wow.
Another one lost 4 pounds a week. No, sorry, I'm thinking kgs. Sorry, he lost one 1 kg, 2 kgs a week. This was in Australia. This was in abroad, so I'm like mixing up my metric system here.
Oh,
He lost between 1 and 2 kgs, which is between 2 and 4 pounds a week for
hi.
like for over a dozen weeks. So and the man moves went away and all the like it was because I didn't tell him to exercise more and eat less. That would have been a bad thing to do.
Yes.
It was using testing, genetics and hormone
Hmm.
testing, and lifestyle analysis to identify what were the causes of all this. Now, for women, they didn't. I had a similar situation with another client of mine who, without telling me, joined CrossFit, and I was super annoyed about because she started to overexercise, and then what happened is that she lost her muscle definition. She put on lots of weight, and her hormone cycle went off. And I ran her genetics. It was a similar profile.
Hmm.
So hyperinflamer, difficulty detoxing estrogen. So when
Hmm.
she got overinflamed from overexercising, her estrogen levels went sideways, and it didn't develop gynecomastia. It just threw off her cycle and made cycles very uncomfortable. So
Hmm.
same thing, just reworked her entire lifestyle and so on based on testing, and then
Hmm.
muscle tone came back. Uh, her cycles normalized. They weren't uncomfortable. Her body shape returned, and had some very choice words for her CrossFit trainer. And yeah, so this is where testing, because literally
Hmm.
one of those gentlemen came in to see me. First words out of his mouth is like, "I want testosterone supplements," and I'm like, "It's like I
Hmm.
just need, I want to." I'm like, "I don't know if that's the right move for you." He's like, "No, no, no.
Hmm.
I read online. I need testosterone
Yeah.
supplements." I can see that. I believe you. You did read stuff online. Yes, that is true.
Hmm.
And he was very insistent, and this is where I had to like put on the doctor voice, and he was very
Uh-huh.
insistent. Look, I'm not giving you any testosterone related things until we do testing. There's plenty of other air quotes
Hmm.
practitioners who do that for you without testing. I'm not one of them.
Oh, yeah.
You can either do the testing or you can leave. What would you like to do? Because I don't want to hurt
Hmm.
you inadvertently. Because they're bad things that can happen. Testosterone is not benign if you give it
Hmm.
the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And he grumbled and agreed to do the testing, and thank God he
Hmm.
did, because he would have just it would have just made it worse because his aromatase enzyme was overactive, creating it was just, and when you're inflamed, your aromatase enzyme is more active, and you convert more testosterone into estrogen.
Yeah.
It
It's
would have
good
been
you have
worse.
that testing. Yeah, it's good you have that testing available because, as practitioners, we tell them, because I have similar client come to me. I like probably, listen to a lot of things and read a lot of things and say, I want estrogen. I'm at this age, and like rattle off the list. I have this,
Right.
this, this, and this. I need estrogen. So then I asked her, like, what about your lifestyle? What's going on at work, at home? What do you do? And then training for, I don't know if it's a half or full marathon. She's training for a marathon, and like she rattled the dates to me, and I was like, you know, I'm not giving you same things that I can't give you estrogen. I don't think estrogen is going to help you at this point. You have to do all
Mhm.
these things. Of course, unhappy that I didn't give her the estrogen and not listening to like me telling her, hey, we need to address all these things first. But everyone just doesn't want to believe, like, no, I can't like stop my exercise. I need this. I can't like do stress relief and blah, blah, blah. But testing is powerful because it's their body. It's their body's like DNA. It's their body's blueprint that this is what
Mhm.
your body's doing. If you get this is what's going to happen.
Totally. And so the testing is a real reality check for people.
Hmm.
I've had in genetics testing, I've had more people pivot on their lifestyle. They may like they kind of put this sigh like, okay, but like you can't argue with what your genetics test says. Like it's there.
Hmm.
I've had 3 people just quit alcohol on the spot because their genetics were showing that alcohol was really counterproductive to their health goals, and they just
Hmm.
couldn't ignore it. I've had, people just radically change their diet because you can now genetically test for your optimal diet. You can genetically test, are you keto, paleo, Mediterranean, or high carb? You can
Yeah.
genetically test, are you histamine sensitive? You can genetically test, are you more reactive to food allergens? So an elimination diet might be more appropriate. You can genetically test,
Hmm.
do you have genetic vulnerability, like I do, to caffeine induced anxiety and depression? Coffee is not a panacea. Some people, like me, can develop caffeine induced anxiety and depression. So
Mm-hmm.
what that means is that people they may think, oh, I have all this energy. No, that's just anxiety. You're conflating the two.
You're jittery. That's not energy.
That's not energy. That's jitters. And you can genetically test. Like some people, you're talking to Catholic women. I don't know. Maybe some of them feel guilty for some random reason or another. Maybe one or two. Some people genetically are crave sugar. Genetically, it's hardwired.
Mhm.
Some people genetically just don't feel full from normal amounts of food genetically. And that can lead to a lot of guilt if they don't realize that it's just hard coded. They feel like
Yeah.
it's a failure of willpower.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it, and then some people think, well, if it's genetic, then that's hopeless. I might as well just give up and pass the bag of M&Ms. Like, no. If you have a genetic propensity towards over consuming sugar or food in general or whatever, the solution is to control your environment, not your willpower.
I love it.
I have both those genes where I overeat and crave sugar. So I am not smarter than I'm smarter than bread. I'm not stronger than bread. I just don't have bread in the house. End of
Uh-huh.
story. If I bought it, it might make it out to the car from the store. It might, maybe half of it, two
Mm-hmm.
thirds. So uh, I just don't keep it around because I know if I'm going to make my environment foolproof
Mm-hmm.
where I just if I crave it, I can't even action it. That's
Mm-hmm.
controlling my environment. Um, so there are very practical things that people can do,
Yeah.
and
So the
some
choice is do not eat bread. It's don't even have it in the house.
yeah, if or whatever. I mean, that's my stand-in for craving sugar and
Mhm.
overeating. Like the meta message is that there's certain people have certain propensities genetically, and all the genes that I test are never disempowering. They all are practical. They're things you can do something about.
Mhm.
If you have a gene that makes you crave or overeat, then that's good information to have because now you can stop guilting yourself into submission. Instead, it's like, okay, I have this thing. I'm just going to make my environment. I'm going to control my
Mhm.
environment, not my willpower. That's very empowering. It's very, very, very
Mhm. Yeah. So it's not a death sentence. It's like just because your genes show this doesn't mean like, oh, that's your life sentence. But
yeah.
there's other ways that we can navigate that and actually make you healthier. That way you can serve your purpose and not feel
Well,
like walking around feeling guilty and tired and blaming everyone else.
absolutely. And the other thing that people love to get guilty about is exercise. So with genetics testing, you can actually know what your optimal exercise for performance is. So you have this, you say you have this
Mhm.
client of yours that was running or half or full marathon or whatever. Maybe genetically they are not suited to do marathons.
Yeah.
Maybe they're
More.
more of a fast twitch fiber or an intermediate twitch fiber, which is more suited for sprint-like activities. And so they're at a higher risk of injury if they have the wrong fiber type and they're doing a sport that's engaging the wrong fiber type. Other people, genetically, they have weaker collagen formation genes, which means they're more prone to injury and they're more prone to inflammation, which then can cause uh, inflammation induced exercise muscle injury from exercise. So what that
Mhm.
means is that people who have those types of genes, one, there's different nutrition you can take to become more supportive and growing and repairing collagen, but also
Mhm.
being more net anti-inflammatory. But the other thing you should do if you've got this genetic vulnerability to more injuries is that you got to put as much focus on your recovery as you do on your actual exercise.
Mhm.
So some people, all they do, they exercise, but they don't actually focus on recovery
Mhm.
and regeneration of damaged tissue, and then they can just wear themselves out or injure themselves.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that about yourself genetically, you're very
Mhm.
high risk of injury or wearing yourself out.
Could that be like some athletes, because I know someone who's prone to shin splints. And
Mhm.
then could that be like either body mechanics or like genetics?
So shin splints are interesting. Um, there's there's an entire almost like a court style debate in the running world over the causes of shin splints and running
Mm-hmm.
styles and all the rest of it. So you have everything from, are people running with too heavily padded shoes, to not
Mm-hmm.
padded enough shoes, to should they be running on the balls of
Barefoot.
their feet? Should they be barefoot? Should they be running on the balls of the feet? Should you even be doing heel running? Because heel running is not like. Then there's, are you upright? Are you trying
Mm-hmm.
to do belly breathing, slow breathing while you're marathoning, or are you doing short chest breathing? Are you should like, and then because oxygen levels affect lactic acid. Like if you have insufficient oxygen levels, you can develop lactic acid. If you
Mm-hmm.
have biomechanical disadvantage or whatever, then you can change the postural muscles, particularly of lower
Yeah.
leg, and it's
Not
that way.
getting enough intake.
Um, and then there's also just the reality of your fiber type. Like some people, fiber type, if you're a slow twitch muscle fiber type, you are more you're better suited to be at the higher levels of performance doing long distance running, because your
Mm-hmm.
fiber type is more suited for using mitochondria to burn energy, as opposed to, which is efficient, but it takes a long time to work and you need oxygen, versus fast twitch, which is much more what we would call anaerobic glycolysis. Anaerobic meaning non-oxygen using
Mm-hmm.
glycolysis, sugar splitting. So like you burn sugar in the mitochondria and you get 36 units of energy, or you burn it outside the mitochondria, but very quickly for 2 units of energy.
Yeah.
So so if you're on the wrong fiber type and you're running a marathon, you might be setting yourself up genetically for shin splints.
Mm. And then so the genetic testing that you do can, give us that picture.
Will give us a picture of your fiber type. Whether or not you develop shin splints from your sports is another matter, but there's
Yeah.
different variables. But I'd say it's an influence, not the influence.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's I'm working from first principles here. Like if someone
Mhm.
is a fast twitch muscle fiber type and they're going out to run the marathons, I'd say that's a very bad idea and very likely they'll develop shin splints. Do I
Mm.
have a paper on hand? Give me 5 minutes, I could probably find one. But like yeah, I'm
Uh-huh.
working from first principles.
Yeah. So you teach practitioners about functional genetics. So what are the 5 types of functional tests that every person should at least understand?
Sure. So genetics is one of those five, and there's 5 categories of testing, and
Mhm.
genetics is one of them. And it's the place that yes, I'm biased. I run a genetics company. I do this full time. I teach. I'm totally biased, and I'm not ashamed of that, because I know
Mhm.
it works. Changed my life. Incredible advances in analyzing genetics, and I've made it very easy and straightforward and efficient for practitioners and for the individuals to understand and action their genetics. Otherwise,
Mhm.
people run other genetics tests and they get overwhelmed and confused because there's like 300 genes and 300 attending lifestyle choices and no prioritization. And I've figured out a methodology to prioritize what to do so it's easy to implement. Okay, a little soapbox over. Uh, the reason why I like people do genetics first, aside from my obvious bias, is that you need to run the test once and you're done. You run it once. So it is the single most high value test without even a close second, because you just run the test once and you get the
Mhm.
value of the test for life. And it is literally the foundation. It's the foundation of what of people's diet, of their exercise. I mean, just from what we talked about, like just what we talked about, like that alone
Mhm.
was is enough to demonstrate that genetics is the foundation, and uh, it can just reveal so much about what is your blueprint for optimal health, and also identify where are the weak points in your genetic code that you need to attend to. Because if you don't attend to them, they're going to show up eventually if you don't attend to them preemptively.
Uh-huh.
So that's genetics. The next category is gut testing. Gut
Okay.
testing also related to energy. If people have low in energy, it could be a gut issue, and one reason why is that you could have inflammation in the gut. You could have hidden infections in the gut. Hidden infections will eat your calories and nutrients on your behalf and poop on your behalf and cause toxic problems in the gut. So you're missing the fuel. You're having poor absorption of nutrients to run the mitochondria. That's how gut and
Mhm.
mitochondria are connected.
A lot
You've
of
got
hormones are produced in the gut too.
Yeah, so the gut and hormones also matter, because your estrogen detox, your hormone detox comes out the liver through the bile into the
Mhm.
intestines to be pooped out. But if you've got a dysbiosis, there's certain bad bacteria that sees this detox estrogen floating by. It will grab it, snip off the thing that tagged it in the liver to be detoxed, use the estrogen for its own growth, and then spit it back into the bloodstream to now be sent back to the liver. And the liver's like, what are you doing here? I just worked on you.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this feedback loop where the estrogen gets detoxed part way, the bad bacteria grabs it, uses it, and puts it back into the bloodstream, and for the liver to have to deal with it again and again and again and again. There's markers on gut tests. I mean, technically, beta glucuronidation, if you're wanting to nerd out on that. Glucuronidase, great Scrabble word. There's a G, there's a D, there's an L. I mean, that's like 16 points or something right there. So you'd win a Scrabble turn if you're on a first name basis with all these metabolites. But anyway,
good tip.
So you got the gut markers that check for, are you digesting food properly? Are you inflamed? Are you having an antibody reaction to gluten? Do you have leaky gut? Do you have hidden infections? What's the balance of your beneficial bacteria? So you've got gut testing. You've also got SIBO testing, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth testing. That's a breath test to see if your small intestine is having too much bacteria in it. Then they've got food intolerance testing, which I also put under gut testing. So that's gut testing. The big gut test, SIBO, food intolerance. Then you've got hormone testing, and there's 3 main hormone tests out there: comprehensive thyroid, adrenal, and sex hormones. Now, we talked about adrenals, we talked about sex hormones, we didn't talk about thyroid.
No.
Obviously, if people are tired, thyroid may be one of those things that could do that. So if you're hypothyroid or have autoimmunity to your thyroid causing low thyroid function, then getting thyroid testing. Now, beyond just TSH, back in 2014, I had a patient and I had a physical practice at the time, and it was in a foreign country. She came in with a goiter. Those still exist. By the way, I saw my first goiter within my first month being abroad.
Wow.
First, meaning not the last. Meaning not the last. Okay. Yeah, I my brain almost broke when I first saw the goiter, because like in my head, I was like, we saw this in the 50s, and I'm looking at this like little softball size thing.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's a goiter. They shouldn't exist. But it's there. Like my brain, it just like broke. So I had to accept reality. It was a goiter. So anyway, in 2014, this woman came to me. She had almost every single textbook sign of hypothyroidism you could possibly imagine, plus goiter. So she had overweight, joint pain, hair loss at the eyebrows, thin hair, that shape of hypothyroidism, and as bonus, goiter. Is tired, cold all the time, sensitive to cold, and bonus goiter. So she told me that her endocrinology specialist, her specialist, and and I'm not saying this to make fun of her. I'm saying this because the culture revered doctors like gods. And so there's this kind of reverent specialist, like they just hand over their authority. The specialist ran my TSH and said it was normal. He said my thyroid was fine. I'm just depressed, and I just need to stop complaining and go on antidepressants.
Never mind the big goiter that's right in front of her.
Clearly, the goiter was cosmetic choice. Clearly, that was an aesthetic choice. She coordinated in the morning when she put on her clothing, just kind of tacked on the goiter because it's fashionable. I don't know.
Because it matches.
It matches. I don't know. So it was one of the few times I almost lost my cool, and it was never aimed at her. Never. It was my rage was reserved for the specialist. It was just for her to for this specialist to gaslight her. It was infuriating, and I told her through gritted teeth, and again, not aimed at her. And I told her, look, I'm really angry at your specialist right now. Please don't take my tone personally. This is not aimed at you. But I promise you, I said this through gritted teeth, I will find you a proper thyroid test that will show T3, T4, reverse the antibodies to TPO, or thyroid peroxidase, the antibodies to thyroglobulin. And I said, I swear to you, I will find this company. And I did. And sure enough, she had Hashimoto's. And then worked with her on that. So it's like the thyroid, and that was very formative for me. That was like, this is the
Mm-hmm.
value of testing, because if you don't get proper testing, you can get gaslit.
Yes.
And regardless if you had a goiter, like, clearly, again, goiter was probably just a cosmetic choice on her part. That's probably just not a fashion choice. I don't know. So, there's thyroid test, comprehensive thyroid testing.
Mm-hmm.
Please get comprehensive thyroid testing, not just TSH. That's like 1970s training. We're now in the 2020s. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so thyroid, adrenal, sex hormones, those are the three main hormone tests. Then the other category, so we've done genetics, gut, hormone. The
Hormones.
next
Yeah.
one is mitochondria and metabolism. So
Okay.
mitochondria and metabolism, this is your, all of your iron, your anemia, your iron tests, your blood sugar tests, hemoglobin A1C, insulin, glucose, CBC, CMP, the mitochondria tests, the ones that check for, the vitamins, the minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, organic acids, which is what you check for the health of the mitochondria itself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the liver markers, inflammatory markers. Like, you look at your mitochondria and your metabolism. That is the that's the other major category, and those are usually urine and blood tests. The way to think about it is, blood is the fuel going into the tank. The urine
Mm-hmm.
portion of the test is the emissions test.
Yeah.
So if your mitochondria are like up to 10% of your body weight, you can't like stick a needle in a mitochondria and check it. That's not possible. But what you can do, if it's about 5 to 10% of your body weight and it's
Mm-hmm.
running your metabolism, well, your mitochondria give off exhaust, and you can check the urine, which is your emissions test, like in
Mm-hmm.
a car, and you can tell, because it's so much of your body weight is that thing making that emissions. You can tell what's going on in the engine, just like you can tell a
Mm-hmm.
lot of emissions tests of a car. So yeah, blood is the fuel going into the tank. The urine is the
Mm-hmm.
emissions test coming out. So if you're missing the things in the fuel, that's a problem. If the emissions test is all wonky, that's also a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
Something's happening in the middle.
yeah, there's something wrong in the engine. So then the last category, we've done genetics, we've done gut, we've done hormones, we've done mitochondrial metabolism. The last category is scientifically named the weird stuff. The weird stuff is, I know, super scientific. Yeah, that is heavy metals, that is environmental chemicals, that is mold, that is Lyme disease, and that is other weird infections and toxins. So it's
Mm-hmm.
all weird stuff, the stuff you don't want: mold, metals, limes, toxins, infections. You don't want those. So Epstein Barr, or whatever it might be. So those types of tests are, unfortunately, people who have a meaningful amount of one usually have a combination of the rest. Because when your immune system is weakened by one of those things, like, I don't know, mold, it then weakens your body's detox systems and defense systems, so other infections and chemicals and metals come to play.
Mm-hmm.
So you see a lot of some toxin tests just bundle it all together. We're going to do mold, metals, and environmental toxins all in the same test. So those are the 5 categories. You've got genetics, gut, hormones, mitochondria metabolism, and the weird
The weird
stuff.
stuff.
The weird stuff. So that's how I would encourage people to think about lab testing,
Mm-hmm.
because now you have a structure and a framework to it's not just some random test. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
gut, hormone, mitochondria, genetics, weird stuff.
Because interestingly enough, like for like traditional medicine, they address the weird stuff first, and then they work backwards.
Yes, or I'll add one addendum to that. They'll check the bad stuff first, or they'll check the pathology. They'll check the pathological imbalance of the normal stuff. Like, they're only checking your TSH for, is your TSH normal, like with that woman I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And they're only checking for it's imbalanced if she's got Hashimoto's, or something else. Like, they're not looking at the gray space in between.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I call bell curve biochemistry. that they're assuming everyone fits into just one bell curve. And if you're just between, the bottom 2.5% to the top 97.5%, you're quote normal. So the pathology ranges are only in the outer 2.5% on either end. That's bell curve biochemistry. Whereas personalized biochemistry, this is the functional test where we're looking at you, where are you on those different bell curves? And so the way to think about it, like where most people feel chronically, like a lot of people are in this uncanny valley or this like gaslight territory where they're not, the gaslight territory of the bell curve is where you're not quite past that pathological cutoff, but
So we're not
you're
going to
not,
you.
but so the gaslight, your numbers are quote normal, which means that they're not pathological. They shouldn't say normal, they should say not pathological. So your levels are in the the bottom third, but not into the pathology. And you're not in kind of that top kind of 2 quintile split at the top and or at the other end. So you're kind of in this no man's land where you're in the normal, air quotes, normal ranges, the medical normal ranges. But you're not in the functionally optimal. There's a difference between medical normals and functional optimals.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that.
so what we try to do in functional medicine is to help people go from chronic to normal and from normal to optimal. Western medicine is not about chronic to normal, normal to optimal, philosophically. Western medicine is about getting people out of crisis into stability.
Yes.
That's philosophically what Western medicine came from. It came from triage. It came from military medicine. Are you dying or not? Are you going to lose an eye or a function or a limb or not? No, go over there, take a painkiller and stop complaining because we got people with real problems. And so the problem with Western medicine is not Western medicine. It's the mission creep of tools and philosophy of Western medicine into non-emergency triage situations. No different. It's irresponsible for natural medicine or functional medicine to try to apply things into the emergency room. Like that's mission creep in another direction. That's wrong.
Totally agree.
So the medical sandbox is quite big. We just need to stay in our respective corners and not overlap and know when to refer to one or the other.
Yep.
So there's plenty of space in the sandbox, and we shouldn't have mission creep.
Yeah, I agree. Like with antibiotics, someone has this acute infection, they need antibiotics. You can't just like, hey, I'm going to eat a lot of, whatever, basil or oregano to get rid of that infection. There's a time and place for that. So antibiotics, acute infection, and then later on, let's go ahead and replenish with good probiotics because we just killed all the bacteria to take care of that acute infection.
Totally. Yeah. And there's even some gut infections where antibiotics is contraindicated because you can develop kidney issues. And there's some gut infections that are actually better for herbal, and there's some that are not. If someone has an amoeba, like you go straight, unless you have access to some really hardcore tropical medicine unless you have a really good access to that and you know what you're getting. And like lots of asterisks there, lots of disclaimers there. Like, I'm sorry, I'm taking an antibiotic. I need to get rid of that amoeba. Like that's not, but other stuff like the chronic, like there's a whole gaggle of gut infections that do really, really well with herbals and don't cause the havoc that antibiotics do. So like even in infections, there's definitely case uses for different, they're just different tools.
Yeah, definitely. Testing is, it's amazing stool. Amazing stool. Yeah, I'm trying to be funny like you.
That stool is amazing. Yes, I brag. I take photos. I bronze them. The really good ones, I bronze them.
It's an amazing tool. I could definitely have like a lot more conversations with you, and I want to have you in my other podcast for another topic. And so if people want to get a hold of you, I have this QR code and I'm just going to put it up. So everyone watching on YouTube right now, feel free to scan that QR code. It'll take you to Dr. Shay's DNA decode testing, which now we have learned today that is very foundation of very personalized medicine. If you are into that, well, not into that, but definitely need to be in more preventative mode rather than crisis. And then let's just put out fires.
Absolutely. And is by the way, like if the website, the DNAdecoded.com, if that isn't working, because we've had unfortunately recent like IP issue with not the what's it called when the domain goes, whatever it's called. There's some domain thing. You can also
Uh-huh.
just go to my other website, drsamshay.com, drsamshay.com, and click on DNA Decoded program at the top of the page. If for some reason that QR code doesn't work, it's not, it has nothing to do with the QR code. It has everything to do with some weirdness with the
Hmm.
domain thingy that we're having to fix. My tech team is fixing. So yeah, you can just go to that QR code. If it doesn't work, go to
Hmm.
drsamshay.com and just click on DNA Decoded.
Yeah, I'll definitely put all the show links in the description and everything that like we'll talk about on this podcast, or we've talked about on this podcast. So Dr. Sam, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your story, and your heart today. This conversation was such a powerful reminder that healing doesn't come from trying harder or being guilty about your choices, that it really comes from understanding ourselves more deeply. So if today's episode resonated with you, I encourage you to explore Dr. Sam's work. You can learn more about his trainings and resources and approach at fitgenesusa.com. And we had talked about drsamshay.com, where he educates practitioners and individuals on how to use genetics and functional labs wisely and compassionately. Um, if this episode has blessed you, please take a moment to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a comment. And if truly helps this ministry reach the people who need it the most. So we'd love to know, put in the comments what part of your health journey feels like survival mode right now, and what would harmony look like for you instead. And remember, your body is not broken, it's communicating, and we need to understand and get more data about it. And so when we listen with curiosity, clarity, faith, and healing becomes possible. So until next time, may you continue your care for your body under Mary's veil and nourishing your life with faith, food, and function.